here in the Sierra Nevada mountains at a little creek called Rock Creek, which flows west into the South Yuba River. And our mission today, together, is to engage the mysteries of the distant past, and in particular, the mystery of how the ancients terraformed the continents. Let's begin. We're going to start with this particular face of this material, and we'll see how regular it is. Not perfectly smooth, right? But regular. And this section of ancient concrete is joined together at a seam, right? Hidden by the leaves there, to the next section, right? And the face, as you can see, the face, the smooth, regular face, continues to the next section, right? Then it's joined there to this section with its smooth, regular face, not perfectly smooth, right? And that joins the next section below with its smooth, regular face, right? And that itself has a smooth face, right? And a regularity to the side. Now this is actually a curve, so you can see the little curve in it. It's not perfectly straight. And then we come along to this, and then we say, oh, that looks like building, because it's a right angle, or an approximate right angle. There is a feeling, a similarity to, for instance, Roman blocks that were right angle blocks. And we can see that in a block like this, right? And somehow they joined it strongly with this seam, and there it splits into two seams, so those two seams come together in one. And this also has its smooth, regular face, right? And then you've got the lines. So, but what you see is this line continues on to the next layer. So institutional geology is telling us that this is all natural, but somehow this happened. This just occurred. Here's a non-perfectly straight, but essentially straight line through this material, and this seam, not a crack, not a fracture, but a seam, joins these two sections together strongly. We move over here, we see the same thing. We see a seam, like a seam in a garment, joining together this incredibly strong material in an incredibly strong way. You can see how integral the concrete is. If it were a fracture or a crack, as institutional geology must tell us, they have no other option, then this would be breaking apart, but it's not breaking apart. It's strongly joined. Strongly joined. Now, little by little, they will come out, right? Because the seams here are clearly not as strong as the material itself, but the seams are strong to last millennia, right? Eventually, water action, expansion of the material, contraction of the material over time will break them apart, but they've survived this long with these seams joining them together. So this is an interesting beginning here on the creek bank of Rock Creek, showing us the non-perfectly right angle face here, right? It's actually probably about 5 degrees off of right angle. And then another angle which is perhaps 3 degrees off of right angle, and that gives us the clue that the ancients were not particular about perfect right angles. And this is why ancient terraforming has not been seen as artificial, because this looks natural. Now let's move down here to some other features. I haven't been here before. I'm just gonna walk along and see what we find, all right? Interesting scooping, right? We don't know what that is. So we're going to follow this particular seam, which has on its right a smooth faced section, right? Regular. We're going to see how far it goes. Now this is supposed to be molten material. So we must ask ourselves how molten material has one line, and here it takes a dog leg, but it's essentially straight, and we see the integral nature of the seam, right? But it's essentially straight across the creek bed. These two seams join together, right? Right there. You see the joining. One line across the creek. Now it splits again. 2 straight lines next to each other, split. But we're going to follow the left-hand line, okay? We can see the interesting split of those 2 seams. And we're going to keep following the left-hand line. And it goes all the way over there. And we're going to zoom in on the end of that seam, which is just the end because we can't see beneath that mud right now. So there's the end of that seam, right there. Institutional geology must give an explanation for a line that travels through what they say was natural molten material in an essentially straight geometry. For 20 meters. And the truth is, academia cannot explain that line, nor can it explain the regularity of the smooth faces next to that line and other straight lines in this, quote, molten material. Wherever we look, we see the building. The fact that it's not perfectly right angle building is not conclusive evidence that this is natural. We see again these smooth, regular faces where the material on the right broke out, and we have this remnant of the interior face of that section. Let's move down the creek. Again, we find this straight line seam in ancient concrete traveling across the creek. And on the side, the regular face. Smooth, but not perfectly smooth. And we'll just follow this seam across the creek. Watch. Watch it go. As we move across the continents, what we find in the ancients building is not a sense of carelessness or casualness, but a sense of playfulness mixed with an extremely advanced engineering technology.